اتصل بالشيخ لا أنا قرب عشاء تطلع على الساعة هذه القدام هذيك أحسن.
مش على الشمال، على الشمال ده ولا الشمال الثاني. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين، وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين، وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So today is the day of the 17th and the night of the 18th. But one of the most seminal events that happened in Islamic history happened on this day. And what is that? Ghazwat Badr, which was this profoundly seminal moment in the history of Islam, where 313 companions alongside the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam went up against the mushrikeen of Quraysh in an unprecedented fashion. They had never ever imagined or fathomed that such an event would occur at the extent that it did. And it was such a seminal moment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says about the people of Badr, where he says, لَعَلَّ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ اطَّلَعَ عَلَى أَهْلِ بَدْرٍ فَقَالْ اعْمَلُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ فَقَدْ غَفَرْتُ لَكُمْ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He looked upon, اطَّلَعَ عَلى أَهْلِ بَدْرٍ, He looked upon the people of Badr, and He said, اعْمَلُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ, do what you will, فَإِنِّي قَدْ غَفَرْتُ لَكُمْ, for I have forgiven you. Now, I was very, touched and impacted by the degree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's opinion and the favor that He has for these people. The fact that He would say, do what you will, for I have already forgiven you. In this life, they had achieved their goal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. They've achieved the goal of salvation, but why? And I think it has everything to do with the following. And I can say so much, but we have a few minutes, so I just want to get to the actual point. I was going to recite some of the ayat. But the actual fundamental reason is the following, is because they were true men. They were true men, رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ. They were men who were truthful in their commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Umar says, يَا لَهَا مِن دِينٍ, what a religion of ours that we have, لو كانت لها رجال, if it only had men behind it. Our biggest problem, I'll be honest, is a crisis of men and women who are actually committed to the project of Islam. Because those 313, they were like the equivalent of the 313 who crossed the river with Talut. There was the same number. The same number, why? Because it was those believers who were genuinely sincere in their commitment, that they're going to put everything on the line, fi sabilillah. That's why when the Prophet ﷺ was making dua during Badr for success, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ. We brought you victory in Badr when you were weak in numbers. Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ would raise his hands like this until his top ibadah fell off. And he would cry and call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of how concerned he was for the future of Islam. That was the fundamental, that's why it was such a seminal moment, because it was the future of Islam that was at stake. So the commitment was one where we're going to put everything on the line. We're going to commit ourselves, we're going to surrender, we're going to obey, we're going to follow, we're going to sacrifice. Fi sabilillah, and if it means that our lives are on the table, then that's what it is. And that's where I think, as Muslims in the modern world, we have lost this spirit of really engaging in this type of transaction with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where I am really willing to put everything on the line, fi sabilillah. We're not willing to do that. We're willing to put like our zakah and our taxes, fi sabilillah, like 2.5% mesh, fi sabilillah. If we ask for more than 2.5%, I start getting unraveled. because we're more invested in our personal welfare, supposed personal welfare, meaning my bank account, my 401k, my retirement plan, my home, my basic comfort, my routine. We don't even want to compromise our routines. Come to a dars, أنا والله I come back from work وأكون مستريح خلاص, I change my clothes, لابس البيجامة, wearing my pajama. You want me to come out of my pajama عشان أجي المسجد؟ بكرة إن شاء الله نشوف. Like we don't want to get out of our pajamas because it's khalas, it's going to be an inconvenience to get out of a pajama. That's right. It's a far cry from إن الله اطلع على أهل بدر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked upon the mujahideen of Badr. اعملوا ما شئتم. That's it. Do what you want. Live your life. Now, this particular statement of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked upon the people of Badr, he said, do what you want, for I have already forgiven you. It came in the story of Hatib ibn Abi Balta, when he sent a message to the mushrikeen of Quraysh when the Prophet ﷺ was going towards Mecca, and he preempted them because he was worried he became a little weak. He was worried. He said, all these other companions, they have, families, and they have those who protect their interests. I have no one. So just kind of like it wasn't treasonous. I wasn't trying to, hurt Islam from within or the Muslim community, but I just wanted to protect some of my small interests. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Sadaq. He was truthful. And Sayyidina Umar said, Ya Rasulullah, let me take care of him. He said, no. إن الله اطلع على أهل بدر. He's from the people of Badr, the Rijali Badr, right? And we have to consider our paradigm of whether or not we are from the Rijal Badr. Are we from the men of Badr and the women of Badr who are really interested in seeing the success of Islam as a religion, not the success of Muslimin, because we have become obsessed with our own personal interests and our self-preservation. But who is invested in the project of Islam, the religion, Deenullah? That's a very different dynamic. Those 313 men, their commitment was to Deenullah. They knew they were going up against the power of the age. And it was a very dominating force. The numbers were completely, what the Muslims had, the numbers of the Muslims, even, they had one horse. 313 men, they had one horse. The other side had 1,000 plus, and they had endless cattle and horses and so on for their battle. But that did not, even for a moment, make them hesitate to go out in fi sabilillah and fend for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the result was truly profound. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the madad. The madad. And this is where we lose sight of the fact that it is not us. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. It's just you do that first step of iqbal ala Allah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yubdidukum. He'll send us aid that is immeasurable. Malaika, junudan lam tarawha, soldiers that you do not see, who will create all sorts of realities in this realm that no human being can create. Like the 313 men, it was their iqbal, hum aqbalu ala Allah. But then they took that one step, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from behind them sent madad. And they became 313 times infinity. Nothing can stand in front of the force, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His junood. Nothing. And the only step that we need, as we close inshallah, is to take that sincere step. We can't take a meek step. We can't just put it's like, you have to dive into the pool of Islam. You can't just put your foot in at the tip and see, is the temperature okay? Okay, maybe I'll just, dangle my legs in the water. Udkhulu fi silmi kafa. So I think Ghazwat Badr, inshallah, go back tonight and study it for yourselves, read it, listen to a lecture, and talk to your children about it. But it should teach us true faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, true commitment and true willingness to put it all on the line for Allah. And the result will be madad min indillah, النصر min indillah, وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ. Allah will bring you victory. May Allah bring us victory. Use us for khair. Barakallahu feekum. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Sheikh Ahmed. ليف ستوديو ولا
اند
فين الاند؟
الله أكبر الله